Hello guys, welcome back. Now in this session we are going to discuss about Terraform output value. So let's look into the agenda. What are the topics we are going to cover in this session? So guys, in this session we will first introduce the output block into the code which we have written in our last session, so that we will grab the attribute values at the runtime. And then we will understand what actually the output block is. And at last we will discuss about how we can access the resource attribute at runtime. So let's jump into the Visual Studio Code, and where we will introduce output block in our existing code. So suppose if we want to access the output or say attribute of a particular resource, for this example we want to access the attribute information like domain name for the bucket, or say I want to check all the attribute information of my created bucket, or say of my created resource. Then how we can do that? Let's look into that. So here I am going to introduce the output block. So to specify the output block, we need to first write a keyword called output, and then we need to specify the name. For example, if I want to get the value of the bucket, so I will give a name and then we will tell that output, and then we will specify over here value. And over here, if you will look into this, then concentrate on this approach. So to access the attribute value, I need to specify the name of the resource. For this case, the name of the resource is AWS S3 bucket. And which resource we want to access? We want to access demo bucket 3. So we will copy it and paste it over here. Now let's run it. Then you will see that we will get all the attribute values at runtime. So let's save it and run it. So we have saved it. Now let's run it. To run it again, we need to call the terminal, and over here we need to specify Terraform init. Terraform init I have already specified, so no need to run it again if you already, because I am already having the .terraform folder that is being generated whenever we are running the Terraform init. In this case, I am not going to run it because I have already run it in our previous session. So this time I am going to run Terraform plan enter. So here it is giving us the configuration information, and you will see that it is going to create one resource. Now let's create the resource, and then we will see that how the output is coming up, and then we will discuss about those output. So let's run it. Terraform apply enter. So it is asking for confirmation, so we will tell yes as usual. Now it is creating the bucket. So guys, it has created the bucket, and the difference between the earlier execution and this execution is that we are having the output information in our console. So you will see it over here. It has given us this output where we get all the detail about whichever the attribute which this resource holds. For example, if you want to know about what actually the bucket domain name, so it is giving us this is the domain name. If you want to access this bucket through URL, you can do it. And then over here you will see that all those detail which is being associated with this bucket or say this resource. So now we can see that how we can access the attribute value of the resource at runtime. Now the question comes over here is, how do we can access the specific value of an attribute? For example, if you want to access the domain name, so how do you access that specific value? So let's look into that. So first let me destroy it, and then we will run it again so that we can see how we can access the specific value of an attribute. So let's write it over here. First Terraform destroy enter. So it is destroying the resource, that is our S3 bucket. It is asking for confirmation as usual. We need to specify yes over here. So now we have destroyed one of the resource. Now to access the specific value, I am going to introduce another block of code, and here I will tell that output, and I will call at demo specific attribute, and this time I am going to specify value equal to AWS S3 bucket, and over here I will tell demo bucket 3 because the name of our resources over here is demo bucket 3. And which value we want to access? We want to access the domain value, and whichever the attribute we want to access, we can access those with the help of their name. In this case I am going to copy this one and I will specify over here. So this is the way by which you can access the specific value of a resource that you can use as an input to the other resource at runtime whenever you are designing any of the infrastructure for any of the application. So now in the next step, let's run it and let's look into the output. What are the output we are getting on the screen? So let's run it. Again, I am going to tell that Terraform plan enter. So now it has given us the configuration information and how many resource we are going to create. So we are going to create one resource. So now let's apply it. So over here we will mention Terraform apply enter. So it is asking for confirmation, so we need to specify yes over here. So it is creating the resource and now it has created the resource. And over here, if you will look into this, then you will find that here we have accessed the demo specific attribute. This is the output block we have accessed, and look into this. Here we are accessing that particular attribute which we have targeted, and we have targeted the bucket regional domain name, and that's what it has given us. So this way you can access any of the attribute value at runtime, and this is what I wanted to demonstrate you in this session. So now let's sum up the session. So in this session we have seen that how to access the attribute value of a resource at runtime with the help of output value block, and we have also seen that if we want to access a specific value of a resource attribute, then how we can access it. So on this note, I am stopping over here. See you in the next session. Till then, bye bye. Take care.